Hey kids, we're down in the studio. It's a Saturday. I think it's the last day of February. Anyways, working with these new speakers. As with anything, you start comparing your mixes from previous songs, and it's like, what do you hear and what you don't hear? And it's like, yeah, so you go, well, should I remix these? So I'm experimenting with a few things. I don't know if I want to get into that totally, because you end up never leaving the basement again. I promised myself I wasn't going to buy new stuff. So, but this, I always wanted to upgrade the speakers. So I've got these Presonus Eris systems. I think are they E8 XT model? I love them actually. I love them. They work great with my Yamahas. So I'm working on just experimenting with a tune. This one's really old. Wrote it with my songwriting partner, Tony Kajanar, and we wrote it with the original Flat Stanley guys, which the band is called, Jim O'Leary and Mark Brando. They actually aren't on this recording. They helped write the song in its raw form. So on this particular song, Tony plays all the guitars. I play the bass guitar, play the drums, and I do the vocals. So, and it was like that for a lot of the stuff that we wrote in rough draft form and stuff. Tony and I wrote a lot of stuff ourselves, basically. Finished off doing a lot of our stuff, and we kind of went back into some of our older stuff, trying to go, well, what can we do with this? Now, the issue with this song is I recorded the drum tracks in actually basic 2-track form. So the drums are mic'd into a mixer and just run into 2 stereo tracks, which is basically left and right. And we were doing a lot of experimenting, and so was I, just on my own. So I always tried to get the best drum sound out of 2 tracks that I possibly could back then when I was doing demos. And I used to run them into a reel-to-reel, old Akai reel-to-reel. This one I don't believe was recorded that way. It was just recorded on an older computer. None of this stuff that I have right now was around when I recorded this song with Tony. So yeah, so it was kind of an interesting tune. Love the tune, but rightfully we should go back and re-record the whole thing into this technology. But I'm not into that. It was one of those things where things clicked when we were recording the parts, and I don't want to redo it and lose that. And to be honest, neither one of us have played these songs in years, many years. So to capture what we had at that time, which was fresh, and we were totally motivated to just write and write and write, it's be hard to capture the energy this song has, and I love it. Some of the vocals are, I'll probably have to redo a few little tweaks on them, but there's a couple little flat parts and stuff like that I'll redo. But the vocals, you can kind of blend that in. But doing a whole drum track, because I did this drum track in one take, and it's like I'm never going to pull that off again to even capture it. I'd have to relearn what I did. So pretty cool bass line on it. This is not a final mix, but anyways, I had it final mix on it. But now with these speakers, I just start experimenting. So okay, well I can see how that works and see if it's improved over the mix I did before or not. So I worked a lot to get it in a final mix before, and I don't feel like doing everything all again. So this is just an experiment to see what these speakers can do and what they can change in my own ears, what I hear from the old recording to this. So this is going on the Flat Stanley album that's pretty much done, and like I say, this is one of the older ones. I would say this song is 15 years old, probably longer. So it's been sitting for quite a while. It still sounds pretty good. So I'll give it a little test. Bass guitar is still a little buried in it. Drums might be too loud. I've got to play around with that. And the vocals, I haven't done anything with the vocals. So I'm kind of working with the drums a bit and some of the guitars and just seeing what these speakers can do. You know, they're totally different from my old ones. And I hear things now that I didn't hear before. I can run both sets now, and they complement each other, but still sound totally different. My other speakers, it was either or. I did them on tops or the bottom speakers, and I would have to adjust accordingly. And they eventually sounded pretty good on both sets of speakers. Nothing wrong with the other speakers that I replaced. Just these ones got more volume, and they definitely have a little more smoothness, I guess. So we'll give you a little listen. This is Ride on a Roller Coaster. It's not the full song, I'm just giving you a section. Okay, so that's the tune. I forgot I did do guitars on it. Did this warbly guitar thing on it after the stops. So I do sneak some stuff in there. Tony plays excellent on this track, in my opinion. We do, in certain songs, we'll trade things like I'll let him play bass on stuff, and he lets me play guitar on stuff. So this song, I kind of snuck some extra guitar things in there I totally forgot about after each stop in the verses. So the groove's pretty good. So as for the drum track, while I recorded that song in 2 tracks, like I said, left and right, it makes it a little bit harder to bring out a snare drum and things like that, and a kick drum. So while on the original track I left it like that, and it sounded pretty good, but you lack control. It either brings the drums up or down, and it can't really fit the individual snare and kick and toms in place. So what I tried to do today is I made a copy of that particular drum track that I did. And what I did is I cut everything out on one of the edits that I did. I took all the snare drums and cut everything around them out. So all you hear is the snare drum. And I did that for the kick drums also. That took me quite a while. Now there's easier ways to do it, but I prefer to just cut it and get everything that bleeds out of it in the middle. So what that does is leaves me those 2 original tracks with the full drum set. But now I have copies of those cut up to just snare and kick. You can't really do too much. I'm going to try the toms too. So the toms aren't really that elaborate for the drum fills in this song. But anything to do with cymbals, you're shit out of luck. You can't do anything with them. So right now I end up having a separate kick drum track with just kick drum notes. And what I did there is just EQ'd it to be a little smoother. Same with the snare. And made sure all those frequencies are kind of to my liking. Then I took the bass drum track again, copied it again, and turned it into a sub kick. I have a special plug-in that I use that's, what it does is it just kills all the frequencies in the high end and makes it a really low punchy sub kick sound, which is that thing right there. I don't know if you can see it in the camera down on the bass drum here. It's wide angle lens, it should get it. That's a sub kick. It gets the low frequency, adds a little bit of a punch to it. So I experimented with that and it does work. So it's still all the same drum track, the same beginning to end thing that I did. But now I've got a little bit of leverage to play around with the kick drums and stuff and EQ them separately. But the drum track, for the most part, in the 2 tracks that I did originally, sound really good for sound quality. They isolated pretty good. I wish I had better overheads when I was recording that. There's nothing I can do about that. So I also copied those tracks and turned them into 2 overhead tracks and just re-EQ'd them to favor cymbals and not so much the drums. And that's kind of working with these speakers. So lots of work, just total fun. I'll probably end up keeping the original track for the album anyways because I worked my ass off on it. But this is mainly an experiment to see if taking 2 tracks, I can cut them up, copy, do all this funky stuff, and actually get a better drum track out of it. So we'll see. There's lots of tricks, but we'll see. Anyways, the song, it's Ride on a Roller Coaster, or Ride the Roller Coaster, Ride on a Roller Coaster. Old song, fun tune. And it'll be on the album. It was supposed to be out last summer, but I keep finding stuff that I got to tweak on it, so someday it'll be out. Thanks for watching.